Green Bay, Wisconsin, home of the 13-time world champion Green Bay Packers, playing at frigid Lambeau Field. This is the Frozen Tundra.
Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Cheese Empire back here with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down the 2025 Green Bay Packers schedule. So let's get right on into it. So the Green Bay Packers have a very interesting schedule. First, they'll be facing the AFC North, and then of course they'll be facing the NFC East this year, and then their AFC opponent that is not in the AFC North is the Denver Broncos. So let's break this all down with the schedule. You have a lot of cool little reunions coming this year, especially versus their legacy best quarterback in franchise history and Aaron Rodgers they'll be facing this year. But let's get right on into the Packers schedule. So some big things to note for this team compared to last year is, of course, the addition of Micah Parsons, the loss of Jair Alexander, and then, of course, the drafting of Matthew Golden. So that was the big moves that really affected the Packers. Other than that, of course, Kenny Clark departing with Micah Parsons as well. So other than that, this team is basically very similar to what it was last year, but they did make improvements in positions they needed, except for, in my opinion, corner. But I think they'll be okay there in that position, but I do think it'll cost them some games. But let's get right into the schedule. So starting off on Sunday, September 7th, the Green Bay Packers will be hosting the Detroit Lions. Now, I'll have an in-depth breakdown of the game, but I'm just going to give a quick overview of each game and we move on. So versus the Detroit Lions, I have the Packers winning that game. I have them beating the Lions with a very close score. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Of course, the Packers are going to have more chemistry than the Lions because, of course, yes, the playbook will be similar, but they are losing their offense and defensive coordinator Ben Johnson and Aaron Glennon, of course. So I think that's going to bring the Lions off to a slower start than people are expecting personally. So I got the Packers beating the Lions there, and then they will play host to the Commanders on Thursday Night Football, a short week. I think they get the loss here with the Washington Commanders coming off a very, very good year with Jaden Daniels at QB. Very interesting, but I give them the loss here versus the Commanders. I think it's going to be a very tough task for the Packers, especially at the cornerback position, to stop Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. That's a very good duo there, of course. And I think containing Jaden Daniels is going to be a difficult task, especially if you do set the edge interior-wise. Isn't going to be easy to stop him because of how shifty and how hard he'll be to bring down, of course. So I can give you the Commanders to win here, and then the Green Bay Packers will go on their first road. Will go on a little road trip versus the Browns, and of course the Cowboys. I give the Packers both wins here versus Browns and the Cowboys. The Browns really don't need to mention why. Quarterback carousel. Jerry Jeudy, the only guy there besides David Njoku, but the Packers have great linebacking duo to help contain David Njoku, and then of course all you got to do is just double team Jerry Jeudy, and then running back wise they lost Nick Chubb, but the Browns have a lot of issues, and then offensively the Packers just got to get it going with Jordan Love. Of course they got a very good cornerback duo with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. But I still think that this Packers team is going to be hard to contain, especially with Jordan Love, how he is a guy who will spread the rock, not just have a favorite guy and go to him constantly. He will share the rock, and I think it's going to be hard for this Brown defense to keep the Packers contained, while the Packers defense can easily contain the Browns offense. And then for the Cowboys, I got Micah Parsons going into Dallas, having a revenge game. And the Packers do know how to win in AT&T Stadium. And this Dallas Cowboy team, yes, they lost Micah Parsons. That D-line I'm still a little worried about, especially now at edge rusher with Micah Parsons. Yes, they got Kenny Clark there for the interior, which was the issue, but they still got an issue on the outerior. Defensively, all you got to do is get to Dak before CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens can do their things. Of course, you got Jake Ferguson there as well, another target for Dak. But one thing the Packers know how to do is beat the Cowboys, and one thing the Cowboys have been lacking really the past few years is a good run defense, and you have a very good running back in Josh Jacobs, so all you got to do is just let him take control. So I have the Packers winning so far, going 3-1 to start the year off, and then they have their bye week, and then after the bye week, they will come home and host the Cincinnati Bengals against Joe Burrow, against this offense. Now, this offense is going to be very hard to stop. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a great game for the Packers secondary, but I think it's going to be too tough for them, and I give the Green Bay Packers a win versus Cincinnati Bengals. It's coming off the bye week. Mike Parsons back is going to have even more time to rest. Yes, I'm not too worried about that like the media is. They are doing what they are going to do to get him ready for the season, but I give the Packers a win versus Cincinnati Bengals. And then you head out to Arizona, where they play the Cardinals, and I give the Cardinals the loss here and the Packers the win. So you have the Packers on a heater right now, 5-1 starting the year, and then they go out to Pittsburgh to face Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers are going to get it done. Aaron Rodgers definitely has this game circled, and this is the only team that Aaron Rodgers has to beat all 32 teams. I think Aaron Rodgers is waiting his game to play. I think he's going to get the win against the Packers. That's going to be a very emotional game, but I do give the Steelers the edge there. I think they're going to have a game, and one thing Mike Tomlin knows how to do is out-coach opponents, and I think the Packers are going to be on a heater. They're going to come into this game confident, be like, we're getting revenge on our old guy, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a vintage Aaron Rodgers game, in my opinion, for his age, a MVP, a game from his 2014 years from when he won the MVP. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have it there. And then we got November 2nd, you face Carolina. I think the Packers will recover and get the win versus the Panthers. This Panthers team is on the up and up under Bryce Young. I'm very excited to see what they could do. And then after that, you got Philly, and I give them the loss there. Philly's the reigning Super Bowl champ. Very complete team overall. A lot of things Philly can do, and they do it good. I think it's going to be a close game, but I give the edge to the Eagles. And then the Packers will head out to New York to face the Giants. I got the Packers winning that there. The Giants are they're showing potential, but you really don't. Who's going to be starting? Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart at this time, Russell Wilson. Who's going to be the starter? I think it's going to be very tough for the Packers to lose this game. I think the Giants really are not there. Yes, you got very good defensive line with Dexter Lawrence there. You got, of course, Malik Neighbors, who's going to have a game, but you just got to contain him for Green Bay. Then they come home and they face the Minnesota Vikings. I got the Packers losing this game. I think the Packers are going to fall to Minnesota here. I think they're going to go on a losing streak versus Detroit on Thanksgiving. I think this is going to be finally the year Detroit finally gets a win on Thanksgiving. I know Packer fans are going to be like, but what about last time on Thanksgiving? The Lions are going to be knowing their system. There is going to be clicking more compared to the beginning of the year. I think the Packers get the loss here, and then they go home and face the Bears, and I give the Packers the edge. Yes, the Chicago Bears are on a very good track up. I'm not going to deny that, Bears fans. But I still think with this Micah Parsons trade, it's going to be hard for your old line to stop Micah Parsons, stop Rashawn Gary. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a nightmare game. And then it's going to be tough, very tough for the Packers. And then, of course, you got the Denver Broncos. They'll go out to Mile High. I think the atmosphere and how hard it is to play in Denver and the environment there, I think the Denver Broncos are going to get the win over the Green Bay Packers. Denver's a very good team with Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, the very good offense they got there under Sean Payton. Sean Payton knows how to play defense, and he knows how to contain guys, and I think it's going to be tough. And then the Packers will go back out to the Midwest to face the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field. It's home away from home, basically. I give the Packers a win. I think the Packers are going to sweep the Chicago Bears to the win. And then the Packers will come home, face the Ravens on the 27th. That's going to be a very good game, but it's going to be, like I said, with Jaden Daniels. Same thing goes for Lamar Jackson, who's going to be after the Lombardi. That is the one thing he needs in his career. I think Lamar Jackson goes on a vengeance, on a tear this season, and I think he's going to win MVP, potentially even. But I think it's going to be hard for the Packers to contain Lamar Jackson. You got Jair coming back to Green Bay, and he's going to try to make a statement by shutting down Matthew Golden, shutting down Jaden Reed, shutting down Romeo Dobbs, Dontavius Wicks, Christian Watson, hopefully at this point, depending on his injury. And I think the Packers get the loss, and then they head out to Minnesota, where I think the Packers do get the win in Minnesota. I think they'll split with the Lions. I think they'll split with the Vikings. And I think they sweep the Bears this year for the division. And I have the Green Bay Packers winning in Minnesota, winning a game that's going to be probably a game that decides the division as well. So that gives the Packers a total 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10 wins. I think they go 10-7 on the year. Yes, that is a little low, but you got to remember this is a very tough schedule for the Green Bay Packers, a very tough division as well. I think they win the division at 10-7. I think they're going to be splitting it with the Detroit Lions. I think the Vikings are going to be right there at 7-10, and the Bears at 8-9 is my prediction for the North. But I have the Packers winning the division at 10-7, securing probably the number 4 seed, heading into the playoffs for a hopeful Super Bowl run. But let me know down below, what do you think of the prediction? Do you think the Packers will go 10-7 yourself? Do you think they'll be a little worse or better? Let me know down below. If you guys haven't already, hit that like and sub button. And as always, go Pack Go and stay cheesy.